Welcome to all the students. I am Aisha Mathur, Associate Professor at School of Architecture in Calcutta's University. And today we will be taking a lecture on the environmental studies, under which we will be studying about the various types of ecosystem. Basically, environmental studies is an academic field which studies human interaction with the environment. Environmental studies connects principles from the physical sciences, commerce, economics, humanities, and social sciences to address the complex contemporary environmental issues. So how is it relevant in architecture? Why are we studying this in the module vernacular? Architecture and environmental studies, they are basically they are natural companions, if you can say. It is impossible to design a good building without understanding the relationships to the natural system. And vice versa, it is also impossible to understand the natural environment without knowing how human intervention affects it, both positively and negatively. So ecosystem is an important part of this kind of study. Let's move on with the lecture and see what are the prerequisites for the same. So before going on to the deeper concepts of ecosystem, you should be clear with the basic concepts of environmental studies. So you have been studying this subject since school time, and you all must have a very clear idea of what we will study under this. And then you should have some kind of knowledge about the biodiversity in and around where you stay and in the other regions of the country or probably around the world, because we'll be talking about the same when we'll talk about the ecosystems. Then thirdly, you should have awareness of environmental problems, because this is what is why we are studying this subject, because these days a lot of climatic changes and these kind of problems are arising because of human intervention. Awareness about these issues is a must. Here on the screen, you all can see the objectives are given. Firstly, I'll give you a small introduction on ecosystems. Then we will get to know about the characteristics of an ecosystem, then the structure of an ecosystem, what are the different types of ecosystems. Then under the types of ecosystems, these are the things which come. The firstly is the terrestrial ecosystem, which comprises of forest, grassland, deserts, and then secondly you have aquatic ecosystem, which comprises of freshwater ecosystem and marine ecosystem. Apart from these all these natural ecosystems, you also have something which is known as artificial ecosystem. So in very brief, we'll be talking about this also. Now let us just begin with the introduction. So the term ecosystem was coined by the Oxford ecologist called A.G. Tensley to encompass the interactions among the biotic and abiotic components of the environment at a given place. This we'll talk about these biotic and what these abiotic components are in the upcoming slides. You will get a more clear idea about this later. Then ecosystem was defined in its presently accepted form by Eugene Udom. So he was another scientist and ecologist who gave a definition to this term called as ecosystem. He described it as a unit that includes all the organisms, that is the community in a given area interacting with its physical environment, so that the flow of energy to clearly define trophic structure, biotic diversity, and material cycles. That is, exchange of materials between living and non-living within the system. So this was the definition given by him, and on the internet you will also find various other definitions for the same. Another one which I came across was that an ecosystem is a geographic area where plants, animals, and other organisms, as well as weather, landscape, work together to form a bubble of life. And ecosystem contains biotic or the living parts as well as abiotic factors, which are the non-living parts. Biotic factors basically include plants, animals, and other organisms. So this is a more simpler way to define an ecosystem. On the right hand side here, you can see there is this chart which shows that this in this yellow rectangle, you will find what all ecosystem comprises of. So it's plants, consumers, and decomposers, and also the external elements, the abiotic factors such as sun or the solar energy, the space, environment, soil, and organic matter in that, all these are the abiotic factors. So it is basically a combination of both biotic and abiotic factors. So now let us talk about the characteristics of the ecosystem. So firstly, the ecosystem is a major structural and functional unit of the subject we call ecology. And the structure of an ecosystem is related to its species diversity, in the sense that the more complex the ecosystem is, the higher amount of species diversity you will find in that particular ecosystem. Then the function of ecosystem is related to the flow of energy and material cycles within and outside the system. So you all must have heard about food chains when you were younger, and how one species consumes another species, and so a lot of energy, there is an energy flow which is involved in that process. So the function of ecosystem is related to this energy flow. And then if you see that young ecosystems develop and change from less complex to more complex ecosystem through a process called succession. So here on the right side, there is this diagram or image is shown, where you will see that from the bare rocks, the some organic processes have taken, and then it has got converted into lichens, and then small annual plants and lichens gradually appear on that, and they later turn into grasses and then perennials of perennials, and these grasses, they turn into shrubs, and some kind of natural vegetation of that place. They are shade intolerant trees such as pines. And throughout these years of succession, they will finally become shade tolerant trees such as oak and hickory. So you see that how from just starting from the rocks, the entire the range has changed, and it has become full-fledged trees. But this processes have taken a lot of years to happen. It is not a yearly thing which will happen in a year or in a month. They take a lot of time to evolve. Then each ecosystem has its own energy budget which cannot be exceeded. So energy budget will be something like that, the amount of energy flow which we were talking about. So if this change is happening, if we are talking about this example only, if this change is happening, so the amount of energy flow will be similar for another similar process. It will not be out of the range, or it will not be something which is totally out of the box figure. So the energy budget that ways is restored. Then adaptation to local environment condition is an important feature of the biotic components of an ecosystem, failing which they might perish. So then again, they have to adapt to the changing climatic conditions, then only the species will survive, otherwise not. So this was about the characteristics of ecosystem. So continuing with the structure of ecosystem, this is what we were talking in the previous slides, that the ecosystem consists of the following components. First is the abiotic components, and second is the biotic components. So what are these biotic and abiotic components? Abiotic components are the components of ecosystem that includes basic inorganic elements. Okay, inorganic elements and compounds such as soil, water, oxygen, calcium carbonates, phosphates, and a variety of organic compounds. So whatever organic compounds you have heard of, they are the part of abiotic components, and all water, soil, oxygen, everything, they come under this. It also includes physical factors and ingredients such as moisture, wind currents, and solar radiation. So all these components of the environment, humidity and moisture, radiation. So this is again a part of abiotic components. And the radiant energy of sun is the only significant energy source for any ecosystem. So you will find that sun is the component which runs everything in an ecosystem, because without this source, nothing will be possible in an ecosystem. So on this right side also you will see here the components of ecosystem are given. It shows that abiotic and biotic components, and abiotic consist of climatic factors, edaphic factors. Okay, so what are the edaphic factors? Soil, pH values, minerals, topography, and the climatic factors are rain, light, wind temperature. Okay, and about the biotic ones, we'll further divide the biotic components also, which we'll see in the next slides, which are the producers, consumers, decomposers, and you can further classify consumers under primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary consumers. The biotic components include all the living organisms present in the environmental system. So apart from the segregation which we talked about in the previous slide, which was the producers, consumers, and decomposers, the biotic components can also be grouped into two things, which is based on the nutritive components. So first is the autotrophic components, and second is the heterotrophic components. So autotrophic components include all the green plants, okay, which fix the energy of sun, and they manufacture food from inorganic substances, which you all know is known as photosynthesis. And the heterotrophic components are the components which include non-green plants and all the animals, okay, which take food from autotrophs. So the producers are basically the autotrophs, and the consumers are the heterotrophs. And the amount of biomass at any time in an ecosystem is known as standing crop, which usually is expressed in fresh weight, dry weight, or free energy in terms of calorie meters. So this I'm telling you because sometimes when we'll be later on in the lectures, when we'll be talking about how much energy an ecosystem is consuming, so we will be making use of these terms. So you should be familiar with them as well. On the right hand side here, you can see there's a triangle which shows that the plants or the autotrophs, they are the producers. Okay, they are at the bottom of the pyramid, and above them come herbivores. Then you have primary predators, and then you have the secondary predators. So all these herbivores, primary predators, and secondary predators, they are part of heterotrophs. Also, you will find heterotrophs, below the soil level, which you will find they are the decaying, retrivores or the decomposers. So that is also a part of heterotrophs. I will run through this slide very quickly because we talked about this one in the beginning. So this is the type of ecosystem, and this can be divided into two categories. First is natural, and the second is the artificial or the man-made. The natural one comprises of the terrestrial and aquatic, and the terrestrials can further be divided into forests, grasslands, and deserts, and while aquatic can be divided into marine and freshwater. And freshwater, basically it will have lotic and lentic. And lotic you will be having where there is the water is running, so such as stream or river or a spring. And lentic is the one where you have still water, so it can be a lake or a pond or a swamp. And here you can see all these types of ecosystem, the images of these ecosystems. There are many terrestrial ecosystems because there are so many types of different places on Earth. And terrestrial basically means, the things which are on land. So there's some common terrestrial ecosystems that are found are the forests, the grasslands, and the desert ecosystems. And here you can see the images of all these kinds of things. So this is the grassland, and these are the forest, and this is the desert which is shown here. Now we will discuss the forest ecosystem in detail. So forests basically occupy 40% of the land on Earth, and in India these occupy roughly 1/10 of the total area of the land. And let's first segregate the biotic and abiotic components out here. So the abiotic components include inorganic and organic substances present in the soil and atmosphere, and dead organic debris is also found in the forest. About the biotic factors, they are the producers like trees, shrubs, and ground vegetables. And among the primary consumers are the herbivores, which include animals feeding on the tree leaves, such as ants, flies, butterflies, and beetles, spiders, etc. And larger animals like elephants and deer. So, herbivores are basically included in this. And then secondary consumers are carnivorous like snakes, birds, and fox, and other kind of there are many animals. You all know the range of biodiversity we have in our forests. And then tertiary consumers are the top carnivores like lions and tigers. So they sit on top of the pyramid. And then you have the decomposers, which include the microorganisms such as fungi, bacteria, and actinomycetes. So these are the decomposers. So how do we benefit from an forest ecosystem? Why at all should we protect these? Basically, soil, it helps to increase the humus in soil. That is what makes the soil fertile. If you'll not have humus, then the soil will not be able to cultivate on the soil. And then the forests are very helpful in conserving the water as well, and they help in regulating the climate. So now, as you know, that this is a very discussion of current discussion is very hot these days, that climate is changing very rapidly, about the climate change. So this is only happening because slowly our forest ecosystem is getting reduced because of the activities of the man. And then forest, they also helps us to run the nutrient cycling, because the whole food chain is happening and the abiotic components are involved. So they regulate the nutrient cycle. Then they protect the soil also, and they help the plants in doing photosynthesis, and they also help in windbreak and sand fixation. So soil erosion, sand fixation is like when you are having soil erosion, the top layer of the soil get eroded. So the having forest help us reduce that. Then again, the forests also help to reduce the pollutants, and it also helps in CO2 fixation and the release of oxygen. Moving on to grasslands now, they basically occupy fewer areas compared to the forest, and which is roughly around 19% of the total Earth's surface. So if you see on the right side, there is this map showing that the type of grass cover in India, which was prevalent between 1954 till 1962. So almost there were, you can say, six categories of grasslands, but now, of course, you will see that slowly, these are deteriorating, and some of them has vanished also. And so what are the various components now of the grassland ecosystem? The abiotic components include the nutrients present in the soil and the aerial environment. And then you have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, that are supplied by carbon dioxide, water, nitrates, phosphates, and sulfates. And then the biotic components, they may be categorized again as producers, consumers, and secondary consumers and decomposers. So producers in the grasslands, you will find that there are cynodont species, dicanthum species, and some of the shrubs are there. So the grasses are basically the producers here. Then consumers, these occur in the following sequence. Primary consumers are again herbivores, which are grazing on the grasses that are there. So animals such as cow, deer, rabbit, etc., which eat grass. So they are the primary consumers. And then some of the insects also, if you will know that, such as termites, millipedes, that feed on the leaves of the plants. So they also come under the primary consumers. Then the secondary consumers we have are the carnivores, which are feeding on the herbivores. Again, I'll give you an example of fox and snakes, frogs and lizards, etc. Then again, decomposers, they include microbes such as fungi called as mucor, asparagus, rhizopus, etc. and some of the bacteria. So these are the decomposers. So after terrestrial, we'll talk about the aquatic ecosystem. So aquatic ecosystem is an ecosystem that basically exists in water. Within an aquatic ecosystem, the environment is a watery one. And again, the aquatic ecosystem can be divided into two, the freshwater system and the marine water system. Marine water system is basically the sea and the rock pools. So pond water is an example of a fresh water ecosystem. It exhibits a self-sufficient and self-regulating system. The components of a pond ecosystem are as follows. The abiotic components are the chief substances such as heat, light, pH, value of water, and the basic organic and inorganic compounds. And some of the species such as fishes and amphibians varieties such as frogs and other birds such as ducks, they can come under the biotic components here. So here when we look into the biotic components in details, you will see that the producers here comprises of autotrophics, which are green plants, and some photosynthetic bacteria, and these can be of the following types. Firstly, the microphytes are mainly rooted larger plants such as Trapa, Typha, and Nymphaea, and some free-floating forms like Azolla and Wolffia lemma, they also occur in the pool. Then there are phytoplanktons that are minute floating or suspended lower plants, that is Zygnema and Spirogyra. So these are the basic producers. Then what are the consumers? They are heterotrophs. Most of the consumers are herbivore, and a few insects and large fishes are carnivores feeding on the herbivores. So the herbivores are further differentiated as benthos and zooplanktons, and the secondary consumers are carnivores, which include the insects and the fish. Then on the top of the pyramid are the tertiary consumers that are also carnivores and include some large fishes that feed on the smaller ones. Then the decomposers include a variety of microbes, chiefly bacteria and fungi. So this was about the freshwater ecosystem. So as an assignment, what you all have to do is that you have to present a case study on you can choose either a terrestrial ecosystem or an aquatic ecosystem in India, and you have to present a case study on the same, and basically you will be making a report in a very report kind of a format. You will put down all the specifics, that what is the current status of that ecosystem, is that ecosystem facing some kind of threat, or what are the possible problems which are there, and what can be the causes of these problems, and then what are the factors lastly which you think that can help so that we can protect these ecosystems in India. And you can also take it a little forward and do a little research what the Indian government is doing about sustaining these aquatic or terrestrial ecosystems. So it will be in a form of a report on A4 sheets. So you will have to present the same in the class in the upcoming lectures. I hope this lecture has given you some kind of clarity on the ecosystem and the types of ecosystem. And we will continue with the environmental studies lecture and more on this topic in the upcoming lectures. Thank you for attending today's lecture.